I very early on got my MCSE certification, which I was very happy to have achieved. But after that, I stopped chasing the certifications. I needed to understand how to run the business. I needed to understand the business, my client's perspective of value, and what they were trying to get from the technology.
Hey guys, Damian Stevens, host of MSP Mindset. And this is a special series where we got to spend time at the Start, Grow, Manage Summit and record live with some amazing MSPs. Special shout out to Joe and Jeff at Start, Grow, Manage for having us here and letting us spend the time with these MSPs. Hey guys, Damian Stevens, host of MSP Mindset. And I'm here with Stewart Garzarelli, and we're live at SGM Summit. Thank you for your time, Stewart.
Thank you for having me.
So we were just talking before kind of everything went live about why you're doing this. Tell me about that. It's really interesting.
Well, I've been a business owner for 21 years, and I think one of the things that I really discovered about being a MSP business owner is that you really have to have a passion for it. You can't just make it on, I'd like to make money, I'd like to improve my lifestyle. You really do have to have a passion for technology.
Right.
And for me, IT started as part of therapy. I had been injured in at 21 years of age, I was injured in an industrial accident. I probably should have been killed. I sustained brain trauma to both hemispheres. And I was told that I would probably never work a full day again in my life.
At 21? At
21, yeah.
What? Can you give us any color of like what's an industrial accident? I mean, did you get backed over by a dump truck? I mean,
no, I was in a storage facility, and one of the storage tanks, 40,000 gallon storage tank, the door exploded right next to my head. I was walking through the area. I noticed a leak. I bent over to look at it, and the door exploded. 400 some thousand odd pounds of pressure behind the door. I really should have been killed. But over a period of about 4 years, I worked with a specialist. The leading specialist on the East Coast was my primary physician. And after a number of different treatments and medications and things like that, they said, well, this is pretty much your life. This is how you're going to spend the rest of your life. You should probably try to get used to that. And at the end of that portion of that journey, I was introduced to a specialist that made some recommendations. They said, look, we know you have brain cell damage, and what probably makes sense is for you to try to encourage new brain cell growth. Sometimes it grows, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it grows and it doesn't work. But they recommended some things. Go back to school, take some math classes, take some science classes, take some computer classes.
Interesting.
And during that process, over the next few years of doing that part-time, I realized that I really loved everything to do with computers. I started out with some mild programming, and that was very interesting. So I found myself pushing through some of the problems I was having, some of the communication problems, some of the headaches, and I started to notice I was getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And over the next about 3 to 4 years, I pretty much made a full recovery.
Wow.
I have a few little tics from it. I have some balance problems when I stand on one foot. But for the most part, I'm cured. I've completely recovered.
What a blessing.
Yeah. But the real blessing in that was I really did feel like I found my calling. I really did enjoy the technology. It just worked for me. It was. I love problem solving. I've always had a knack for engineering, and this just really fit that. And I probably never would have gone in this direction had it not been for that. So that was the silver lining for me, is that I found a passion.
Hey guys, today's episode is sponsored by Servosity. I created Servosity because I was an MSP who lost data and had to face my client. I don't want you to ever be in that situation. So what's different about Servosity is that we test your backups maniacally. We test those daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. We manage the backups for you, so 80% of your workload is gone and you can focus on your core mission. And All of the storage is both immutable and unlimited. If you'd like to learn more, take a look at servosity.com. So why aren't you a tech? Why am I talking to you as the owner?
I was a tech. I was an aspiring tech. I spent about 3 years at Honeywell. I realized that I had hit a technical ceiling, and the only way to break that ceiling was to move into consulting. As I moved into consulting, I realized very quickly that this was going to be a step. It was a little bit of a sleazy environment. I was being asked to do things that didn't really fit with who I am as a person. I was being asked to do half the job. We sold this job. Let's just implement as much as we need to get out and move on. And I wasn't raised that way. I don't think that way. I don't behave that way. And I found myself spending more and more of my own personal time finishing jobs that I wasn't supposed to be finishing for clients. And I realized along that path, and I set my mind to, if this is the industry I really want to be in, and I really love this work, and I can and I want to do it better than what the industry is providing, then I should probably do this on my own. And that's what really started me down the path of let's turn being a tech into being a business owner. So I got my required certifications. I gained as much knowledge as I possibly could, and I stomached the consulting field as much as I could until I had just had enough, and I started the business. And that was in late 2002. I had the opportunity to move, and I took it.
Move from, and where did you
move
start?
from consulting
Okay.
into
Into
owning
the MSP
my own
side?
business, and that was Innovative IT Concepts is the business that I started.
And so, and then how does that end up to where you end up today at your current company?
So, looking back at 2002, there weren't really good options for PSAs or ticket management systems. There weren't good options for RMMs. In fact, I don't think there were any RMMs in 2002. And everyone was doing kind of break fix. You did some maintenance, maybe you looked at a server every month, and hopefully it didn't have something wrong with it 10 minutes after you logged off. So part of me starting the business was I wanted to do something better, and that I started to develop things that were specific to capabilities that didn't exist. We built the first RMM. We incorporated that into a SQL database, and we were running reports from it. So very, very cutting edge kind of things for that time frame.
That was a TeamViewer or PC Anywhere time frame. That was
there was nothing. It was batch files and FTP uploads and in absorbing information into SQL and then writing custom reports and those being web accessible. So it was really, really cutting edge stuff. I mean, you look at it now, it's like, wow, that's really crap. But back then, that was the only thing you could do, and it really took how can we make this work? Kind of a mindset. And that's really what I've applied all along the way is we don't wait for a tool to become available. We've done a lot with a little, and I think so. Going back to you asked me, what do I think is unique? I think it's our perspective on what we want to provide our customers, what we're willing to provide our customers, and the lengths we're willing to go to make sure that we're providing that. I can give you a quick example.
Please.
Cybersecurity in 2019 was a very, very small thing.
Right.
Those who understood it were at cutting edge, but for the most of the MSPs, you threw in an antivirus, you threw in a couple of tools, and that was it.
That was kind of best practice.
Yep. So back in 2008, we had made a decision that we were going to build a multi-tiered approach to security. It wasn't called cybersecurity at the time. They hadn't named it yet. It was just security, and it was mostly antivirus. Maybe some spam filtering solutions. As we progressed closer and closer to COVID, that became more of a thing, but it was still pretty much a niche thing. Nobody really wanted to pay for it. They didn't understand the value of it. Nobody understood the complexity of it. So once we had COVID, it's like, oh my God, we need all these things. Well, those are things that we had developed back in 2010. So when COVID hit and everyone was touting cybersecurity, I guess I could get in trouble for saying this, but most of the IT companies that were claiming to be cybersecurity experts were implementing one tool.
Yes. Yep.
And that's not a cybersecurity solution.
No.
We have been reluctant. Today, we're even reluctant. Sitting here in front of you, I hate to say I'm a cybersecurity expert because I feel like no one fits into the criteria of expert because it moves so fast that the best you can do is take a close second to where it actually is. And I've always had a problem with saying I'm an expert unless I know every single thing about it. And maybe that's just a me kind of flaw. But
right. I can relate to that.
Yeah, I feel like you really need to know everything about the entire thing in order to say expert. So I feel like it just moves so quickly that nobody can really say expert to that level. And I guess that's okay. But expert in cybersecurity seems to be a really broad scope of I implement a tool that I barely understand to I have cutting edge tools and I'm monitoring and maintaining those on a daily, weekly, monthly basis if necessary to achieve a goal. And that's what we do. And there are other MSPs out there that are doing just that. And I don't want to take away from them, but we've been driving for that since 2008 to 2010 timeframe when we made a decision that was going to be a necessity down the road, whatever they were going to call it.
You were really ahead.
And we wanted to be ahead of it. We really wanted to be ahead of it.
So does that mean you've integrated with best breed tooling or that you are, like you've built your entire stack? Like you don't use any EDR, XDR, or AV?
We do.
Or, okay.
We do. We don't design our own tools anymore. That's the one thing that we moved away from. That was something that became its own segment, and we didn't want to be tool developers.
Sure.
But we are very careful about the best-in-breed tools we use. And in some cases, we don't use best-in-breed tools because the best-in-breed tools have too many conflicts with other tools. So it really is we used to describe it as that multi-layer bulletproof vest kind of philosophy. A single layer of anything doesn't work. Multiple layers intertwined, working together, give you the desired result. And again, that is what is changing within this tool or the need in which you're using this tool, and how do we need to accommodate for that? How do we need to change? And that's an expertise all on its own. That's a very strict set of policies to ensure that the tools that you're integrating work with each other and achieve the desired outcome. And of course, from an MSP perspective, it can't be ridiculously over priced or obviously too expensive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be priced right for the market you're serving.
Yep.
So it sounds like you've developed a really interesting cybersecurity practice.
We have.
But I'm kind of curious. What's more interesting to me is the mindset. So how do you hire for that? How do you expand on that? How do you make sure that's not just you? How do you actually make sure that goes across your team?
That can be the difficult part in hiring technicians.
Yeah.
For a very long time, a technician's worth was measured by the number of certifications they had. And I've often found that the guys and girls who are really passionate in the industry are the ones that don't end up chasing the certification path at all. They see the value in spending the time. They have the passion to chase after that thing's interesting. Let me go look at that. I'm always looking for the person who has the passion, who has the aptitude, not necessarily the certification levels.
Yeah.
I think those are if you're going to chase those, it's nice to have a few. I very early on got my MCSE certification, which I was very happy to have achieved. But after that, I stopped chasing the certifications. I needed to understand how to run the business. I needed to understand the business, my client's perspective of value and what they were trying to get from the technology. So for the most part, you'll see with the really valuable technicians, they start off looking at certifications as an entryway, and then everything else is, what are you doing, not what have you achieved?
Yeah.
So that's what we look for in technicians, and I've assembled a very good number of technical people who can think outside of the box and who question things on a regular basis. And that's really where I think you get you really have a cutting edge solution or best in class protection is by continuing to ask the questions. What could we do better? What has changed? Is this product relevant to our stack? Does the stack need to be completely revamped because of something that's changed? There's always that thing that comes up in the industry that you're not expecting, that you have to change your mindset. You just can't retrofit your tools into a new problem all the time. So you really have to have that mindset. You have to have those procedures that you follow when things are working, so that they work really well when they're not. And you can shift and adapt very quickly.
I love this. This is really core to what I believe as well. And I call it unconventional people. But how have you hired for people like that, right? If you're not looking for the checkbox of the cert, or maybe, 5 years experience, people are very different. 2 people, 5 years experience, or what have you. So is there any way you'd be able to figure out or help discern this is the kind of person that is really hungry and learning and those kinds of things that you shared?
There are telltale signs of people. Obviously, in-person interviews are really nice. You get to really stare into a person's soul, and I think that's very valuable. I never underestimate the power of a handshake when you're trying to figure out what a person is about. Since COVID, we've spread out to some of our technicians. I see them once a year at the holiday party. So making those determinations of who that person is over digital media can be a little more difficult. But we go through a process where typically the process starts out before me. A team will go and look for a person. They'll interview. They'll look at their credentials. They'll have these conversations. They'll ask the questions that give the applicant an opportunity to show who they are as a person, what they would be about, and how they would fit into the team. And then from there, once the team has decided on someone, I get the final say of I want to see what makes you tick, because when you enter into any job, you're really saying, I'm going to dedicate the majority of my life to working. You're going to spend more time with your coworkers than you are with the people you chose to spend time with, your friends, your family, your children, and that had better be a good fit.
Right.
So it's a process, and we've gotten it terribly wrong with people. I've hired some people who were, I say they're really good salespeople. And they sold me that they were the type of person that we needed in the company and would fit well, and maybe it didn't turn out so well. But, again, that's a work in progress as well.
Yeah, I think we could probably talk forever, and I love the
absolutely.
culture and hiring aspects. Would love to talk more about that. But I want to make sure folks know how to connect with you, Stewart. So whether it's social, whether it's website, again, most owners listening, if they are intrigued by what you're doing, what you're talking about, how should they find you, get connected to you?
So best way to connect with us is LinkedIn or our website. The website address is Agiliti Success, and Agiliti is spelled Agiliti. So agilitisuccess.com, and our phone number is out there. Contact information is out there, and but if you want to get in touch with me, LinkedIn is a good place to look for me and the company. So those are the best ways.
Awesome. And just for everybody who's looking you up on LinkedIn, give them your name so they can find you.
Stewart Garzarelli.
There we go.
And the company name is Agiliti, Agiliti.
Agiliti with an I.
With an I.
Make sure to take the opportunity to connect with Stewart. Thank you for giving time out of your schedule at the SGM Summit to speak with me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Stewart.